Welcome everyone to Tea Time. I mean, it's Major of the Week. Us golf fans have been waiting so long for this. It's Majors Week, and we're so excited. We got Nick Borrman, we got Dave Cokin, we've got myself. I'm Andy Lang, and we have so much to get to. There's not going to be a lot of fluff in this one because we got a lot to get into. Stacked field, first major of the year. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on our 4 o'clock tea time. Nick, how did last week go for you?
Last week was slow through the first 3 days, and then Sunday came, and I won not on the WGC event, but Richie Werenski came through as a 33-1, eagled 15 or 16, birdied 18, and win by 1. So had a great week. Ended up being, and then I even had Berger. He almost snuck in and stole that WGC out of nowhere too. So it ended up being a very, very good week. I was thrilled.
Love that man Berger. Love that man Berger. And yes, Richie making you rich was incredible. Yes. Dave, how was your week, buddy?
Yeah, Berger was the guy I was pulling for with an outright on him, and unfortunately, he really had to take a shot at 18 because he needed to birdie 18. And get to the house at 12 under.
Yep.
And he sprayed his drive and ended up with a bogey, so that took him out of the mix. But he loves that course. And remember that next year when they head to Memphis, you do not want to ignore Daniel Berger.
Nope.
Yep.
I said last week, if you parlayed all my picks, you got paid 20-1, and of course I went 3-1. So could not catch the big 20-1. But hey. 3-1 on all underdogs, I will take. So, all right, let's get right into it. Nick and Nick and Dave and I were talking about the course a little bit earlier. Nick, we can't talk about this tournament without first going over the course and what players can expect. So, what have we seen about this San Francisco course coming out?
Well, you mentioned it. It's kind of pictures are popping up everywhere right now, and the rough looks gnarly, crazy, terrible to say the least. It looks like it reminds me of Marion a few years back where I attended it at the U.S. Open, and I literally was watching guys hitting wedges 90 degrees back to the fairway. I don't know if it'll get quite that crazy. It is supposed to be a little cooler all week, right? Temps a little cooler than they've been playing in, more San Francisco Bay type. If there's any sort of moisture in that grass at all, forget about it. It's going to be chop out real bad. So you gotta be wary of those guys that are going to be spraying off the tee this week. But it looks tough. Looks very tough.
It's going to be a course where precision is really important for 2 reasons. One is the rough, and the second, it's San Francisco. You don't even have to check the forecast to know there's going to be some wind.
Yep.
Because there always is in San Francisco. And it's a course that's unfamiliar to most of these players because I guess the only event here was 2015. It's some kind of a match. It was a match play. Which Rory McIlroy won, by the way. So there's not much familiarity. I don't think we're going to get any 20 unders this week, guys. This is going to be hit the ball where you got to hit it, and that's going to hurt some of the guys who like to bomb it off the tee.
First question on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, get your questions in, guys. This is the best time to ask us. We are, while we're live here, we can answer anything you want to know. Once we stop recording, you might shoot us a tweet, but you're much better off asking us now. Courtney asked, will the cool weather have any effects on the players? I mean, my first thought when I saw the weather was, what are the odds on Tiger Woods to miss the cut? We all love Tiger. He's a ratings machine, but let's face it, he snuck into the cut by 1 shot at the Memorial. He probably should have missed the cut, didn't break into the top 40. And when I see cool temperatures, I just think of that back seizing up. That was the first thing off the top of my head. Nick, weather, guys that play good in wind, weather going to affect any of your picks this week?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head with Tiger. The old guys don't like the cold. 4 days out there, they're not going to be around. Phil, last week was fantastic and played great all week long. First of all, will he be able to back that up 2 weeks in a row is already a question. And then you throw in some cold weather. Anybody that's a little older knows that cold weather is hard to play. And it's not like it's going to be 50 degrees, but still, it's there will be times where it's pretty chilly out there and not what they're used to. And then of course, from a science perspective, cold weather, the ball doesn't travel as far, right? So, I mean, in this situation, we're probably not talking about significant differences of distance, but something to maybe keep in the back of your mind of the hitters may lose a couple of yards here or there. Probably nothing to truly handicap, but I would avoid some of the experienced players as far as real experience over 40s.
Watch out with the age comments, okay?
I never said anything about you. I didn't say you were over.
You mentioned something about old guys.
You're 34 or what?
Yeah, times two. No, I do think it's... Look, the first guy I eliminated, and he could go out and win the tournament, show you what I know. But the first guy I eliminated from consideration is DeChambeau. Because, number one, obviously you're not going to get much of a price on him. And secondly, I don't think this is a course that's made for him. Unless he scales back his desire to hit the ball 450 yards, you get in the rough here. This is not a course where you're going to be able to outdistance the obstacles, because if you get in the rough, you're in an obstacle no matter where you are. So I think that guys who are trying to get that extra 20 or 30 yards might not be a great course for them. Might be a really good course for guys who are able to maybe not hit it as far, but keep it in the fairway. That's why even at a really long price, and I know he melted on Sunday, but you got to think Brendan Todd, with his ability to just hit the fairway at almost every shot, it's probably going to be somewhere in the leaderboard here.
Yeah, I guess one of the bets I cashed was Phil over Bubba Watson, and I mean, Phil, he avoided the bad round, the couple of the bad holes. He was shockingly accurate. Like, I know it's weird to say about Phil, but yeah. Man, if he continues that trend of hitting the ball in the fairway, hitting on the greens, and just taking whatever putts he can get, then yeah, he's looking good. The other guy I'm kind of looking at. Did you guys see Henrik Stenson? I think he set a PGA Tour record with 62 pars in 4 rounds. He had 4 bogeys. That was it. I was keeping an eye on him because it was his first tournament back, and I keep tabs on the guys that are just playing for the first time after a long break. And he looked really good. And all he did was pop the ball out the fairway, put it on the green, make a putt here or there. So I think I'm going to be looking at some of these guys that, like Dave said, driving the ball long. God, so it's a lot of risk and reward, and the risk this week is pretty massive. So real quick, guys, couple promos on Wager Talk. Today's Tuesday. Rob Vino is doing $2 Tuesday. So if you want a $2 pick from Rob, awesome guy. I love that guy. That can be found on Wager Talk. And also 1 week all access for $69.
This is one of the best promos they've run in a long time.
This is a good one. Normal price for 1 week was $119. They're doing it for $69. The code is week 69. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if I've ever had a week 69. Had a couple strong ones, but sorry.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't even remember what that is. No, the thing of it is I had 3 best bets today. So if you bought them all individually, that's $75.
Right? Yeah.
A week, and you get everything. Right across the board, everything for $69. And you can, and you don't have to. You're not limited to one guy. So if you've got like maybe 3 handicappers, you can get each of them for a full week for $69 each, and that's, the way a lot of us are running right now. It's not a bad time to jump in because a lot of good results across the board right now.
So $69. So if you buy it today, you get majors, you get the PGA Championship picks, you get your baseball picks, you get NBA picks, you get soccer picks, NASCAR picks. That's a NHL. Yeah, I mean that is. I'm actually going to probably buy it right now. Actually, it's really good. So that's at Wager Talk. The code is week69, all one word, WEEK 69. Let's get into some specific golfers. Here comes that big bad man, Brooks Koepka, second place. I mean, he went for it on 18, hit it in the water. I thought he was taking the aggressive line, and it was kind of like, whatever, I'll just go for it, and if not, I'll be ready for the major. Nick, is this the Brooks we can expect this week, or is that the outlier?
I've got to believe that he's going to play well this week. I think last week was the week to take him. I think he was 30-1. He's 11-1 now, so the value dropped right off the planet for him. But I don't know. Back-to-back PGAs. He was the defending champ last week and almost came through. Perhaps the knees behind him. He looks good right now. It's hard to fade him for sure. I'm not going to be playing him this week personally, just because I don't think the price is right on him. And honestly, I haven't had a great read on him. I've seemed to kind of the week I thought he was going to do well, he missed the cut. And then last week, I wasn't expecting much out of him, just because he hadn't been playing well. And we've talked about his knee a few times, and of course he almost wins. So I don't have a great read on him right now. I'm going to pass, but I do expect him to probably play well this week.
You know what's interesting is that we know what happened on 18 in Memphis. But it might not have happened because he might have taken a different approach had Justin Thomas not gotten unbelievably lucky on a shot. I mean, it might have been the luckiest shot of his pro career. And the guy's a great player, but he had a bad drive on, was it 15?
I think it was 16.
16.
Yeah.
And he got it to Shambo. He got about 100 yards on the cart path. And when the ball finally went back onto the grass, he was in the rough, but the rough wasn't that bad, and he was past all the damage. And he had actually a really easy pitch shot of under 100 yards, which naturally, when you give Justin Thomas that kind of a shot, he's going to take advantage of it. And he ends up birdieing a hole that he probably would have bogeyed, because if it weren't for the cart path, he'd have been stuck in the forest and probably would have had to lay up. And that turned the tournament, because I think Koepka was the winner at that point, and that was like, oh boy, Thomas just... And he give him great full credit. He took advantage of it and made the birdie and held on. But I think Koepka might have won that tournament had it not been for that lucky shot. I think Koepka's got to be in the mix this week, whether it's matchups, outrights. You're not going to get a great price on him, obviously, as you just said, Nick. But he knows how to play majors, and it does appear as though that was a bit of a buy sign last week.
I don't know if you guys check the individual round matchups. I don't do a ton of those, but late on Saturday they had Koepka versus Fowler as a round 4 matchup, and Fowler was in the worst. Fowler was the worst possible place he could be, which is near the top of the leaderboard on Sunday, and I couldn't have jumped on that quick enough. And it was poor Ricky Fowler. I do love the guy, but anytime he's near the top of the leaderboard on Sunday, just.
And it actually could have been worse because he had a shot that looked like it was headed for the water on one hole and got a great bounce, and it ended up in the green. But that's the type of thing that, and this is a nasty way to put it. That's the type of thing that winners take advantage of, like Justin Thomas did. And losers, it's the wrong terminology because obviously he's not a loser, but he just can't play on Sundays. He just can't play on Sundays if he's on the board. And it's in his head. You know it's in his head because he's got too much skill to be as bad as he is every Sunday when he's in contention. Him and Finau, it's like a race to see who could do worse on Sundays.
Around 4 picks to fade for sure. We should be taking those every week, Dave. We should just.
It happened again last week with Finau. I didn't put this on Wager Talk and didn't actually give it out, but I bet against Finau. I mean, it wasn't a big bet, but I bet against Finau on Saturday.
Yeah.
And sure enough, because he's like, oh, he's hanging around. Here comes the Finau fade, and it happened again. It's just a mental thing. I don't know whether they need to go to a sports psychologist or what. There has to be something that's not clicking, and the pressure just gets to these guys. I don't know what it is because I've never been. I have no perspective because I've never been in a situation where I'm at the top or near the top of a leaderboard in anything other than a scramble, and we don't know what the other guys are shooting, and most of them are cheating anyway, so it doesn't really count. But there's clearly something from the neck up that is preventing those two guys from winning tournaments. They're entirely capable of winning.
It's a great discussion. We could actually do a separate episode just on individual rounds because I'm just doing this off the top of my head. You want nothing to do with Fowler or Finau if they're near the top of the leaderboard. You want nothing to do with Keegan Bradley on the weekend. You want nothing to do with Charlie Hoffman on the weekend. You would love
that. I had a couple of mishaps with him at big prices over the years.
You want Poulter on Thursday, he comes out strong. Like, there's this list, and I feel like we could do a complete separate episode of how to bet these guys individual rounds. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
The side of it is, and he only got 12th last week, but when Dustin Johnson decides he's in a tournament, watch out. Because he really, that's what, he is really good when it matters. He's as good as anybody when it matters. And that's one concern I've got, speaking of him for this week. If he gets off to a good start on Thursday, watch out. I didn't put DJ on my card, but he scares me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some more specifics. We talked about Brooke a little bit. We talked about DeChambeau. Dave, off the air, you brought up Jason Day, only guy in the field coming in with 3 straight top 7 finishes in his last 3 tournaments. What do you like about Jason Day right now?
Well, you just hit it. He's also, he knows how to win a major, which I think is important. And when I'm a guy who likes, basically, it's not the be-all and end-all for me, but I prefer taking guys who've won majors as opposed to guys who haven't, because getting that first major can be a real bitch. It's why I strongly considered Morikawa this week. But ultimately didn't play him because he doesn't have the experience of winning a major yet. It wouldn't shock me if he gets one. I think he's just a phenomenal player, and he's going to win his share. But Jason Day is in really good form, so his back issues at least appear to be on hold for the time being. And, it's interesting that last year, I remember Jason Day saying, it was sometime around this time last year, saying that he really expected to get it together around January, that he was still kind of rounding back into his old form. And, well, that didn't happen. But a lot of that probably had to do with a multitude of things, and then we had COVID. He's rounding back into the old Jason Day form. We were poking fun at him a few weeks ago.
Yep.
It's like, fade Day and make money. Better not be fading him anymore, because he is back.
Apparently he hasn't been picking up his kids to throw out his back anymore. Such a strange. I'm looking at his results, so strange. So he goes miscut, 46, miscut, and then without a break just rips off 7th, 4th, 6th. And those are no slouch events. Those are like no cream puff. That's not like he did it at the Barracuda. These were real tournaments. So.
Well, and he's a guy who has a history of playing well on tough courses.
Yeah. Nick, let's do some of the favorites. Obviously, the big names: JT, Koepka, McIlroy, Rahm. By the way, cashed a nice ticket against John Rahm. That was really predictable for me. Was John Rahm imploding after his win? So Xander Schauffele, Simpson, Cantlay, DJ. What are you thinking of these guys, Nick? Any guys you like, or are you really aiming to fade this week?
Well, of the top crop there, I mean, JT rightfully so, best or lowest odds, I guess, of anybody. The guy has just been unbelievable. Number 1 on tour, so many categories right now. It's hard not to see him right up there again this week. But 9-1 or maybe 10-1, you can get him on tough. Xander, I think for me of the top, 7 or 8 guys is probably the one I like the most. We talked about him a little bit before the show, but 6 for 6 in cuts made so far, 5 top 20s, and I mean he's not getting any talk from media, from coverage, from anything like that. But the books are wise to him. I mean, 18-1 is no joke. He finished tied for 6th last week. He's 7th on tour in shots gained off the tee, 6th tee to green, and 9th overall. He's going to be there. He plays well in these events. He's really good in hard fields. I mean, I like him at 18-1 this week. I think he'll have a good finish. Top 10, top 5, good ways to play him this week.
So a little betting talk on Xander for a moment. Jeff Sherman's one of my good friends. Jeff is the odds maker for Superbook USA. At Golf Odds is his handle on Twitter. So he obviously handles the golf. And I always like to find out if I'm right about who the hot ticket guy is every week. And a couple of weeks ago, you might remember it was Van Rooyen. And I said, well, I'm throwing him out because I basically throw out the hot ticket guy every week. Last week, the ticket count leader at Superbook USA was Xander Schauffele. So he got more tickets on Xander than anybody else, and obviously those did not cash because he didn't win. He did have a good tournament, but he didn't win. I like playing those guys the week after because I know they're not going to be as hot. People don't want to go follow a guy who just cost them money. And I think Xander's real live this week. His form is as good as anybody's. He's got 4 straight top 20s. He's got 3 straight top 15s. And he does appear to be a guy who might be pretty well suited for this type of a layout. Keep the ball in the fairway. Don't try and do too much. Don't kill yourself with mistakes. Better to make par than double bogey. And I think he's ready to break through and win a major.
Yep.
I think he could have a shot this week.
Just the complete disrespect towards my friend Daniel Berger is just insulting. He is 28-1 and Fowler's 25-1. That's insane. That's just insane to me. But I'll keep cashing these Daniel Berger head-to-head matchups.
It's insane to me too. I don't get that at all. I mean, outside of the missed cut, and that was
one tournament
a few weeks ago, and it just had a bad tournament.
Yep.
He's got three in a row top 5s, a win, a just miss, and another just miss. He's in great form, and he keeps the ball in the fairway for the most part. So he's a guy who should be able to avoid the penalties here.
I think he's a top 5 golfer in the world. I don't even think I have to argue it too hard. When you just look up and down at current form and how inconsistent a lot of these guys are and how good he's been, I'm just stunned you can get those kind of odds.
Let's talk about him for a moment more. I do think I think the odds on Fowler are wrong. Okay, I think he should be 40 to 45 to 1, and I still wouldn't bet. I think the odds on Berger are about where they should be here. I think that's not a great value play. If you like Berger, that's fine. It's still a good payoff. But I think the days of being able to get a bargain price on Berger, I think those are history.
Yeah, he's the 9th betting favorite if you just go by order of it. So he's right there. He's top 10.
I don't know. I don't know why I take it so personally. Like, I don't know. So
because you were on him long before anybody else, and now you take
I
part.
was. Thank you very much. Dave, you mentioned Morika. Let's go ahead and just talk about Morika, Hoblin, and Wolf because we need to talk about those 3 guys all together. All 3 of their games are different, and they could set up differently for this course. To me, Matthew Wolf worries me a little bit. He's a little bit more sporadic off the tee. And to me, after a 20th place finish last week, Colin got a win a couple weeks ago. I think of the 3, he'd be my pick to finish ahead. What are your thoughts on those 3 guys?
I would agree with that. Look, the only bad tournament he had, well, he's had 2. And those were both in forgivable situations. One was the week after he blew the putt that would have won the tournament and he loses the playoff. And the other was off the win. And, just figured he was going to bounce a little bit, and he did. Solid top 20th this past weekend. He didn't get any notice at all. He just was out there, but played reasonably well. And, his swing is so good. He might have the best pure swing I've ever seen. It's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. If I could swing it once in my life like that, I'm seriously. I mean, just once in my life to know what it feels like to have a perfect swing. I think he's going to be in the mix. And really, the only reason I didn't bet him as an outright is that he hasn't won a major yet, and I think that's a tough hurdle to overcome. But I would definitely be looking at him in matchups.
Nick, what are your thoughts on those 3 guys?
Yeah, I mean, Morikawa's the guy to play. He's the best iron player. Wolf's advantage is off the tee, but we talked about this week. Not to say he's necessarily going to be wild, but he's not as accurate off the tee. And if you take your length as a negative this week because you're not accurate with it, well then that's something to pay attention to because we talked about that rough really penalizing those guys. So I think Morikawa's the guy. I think he's not just in this event. I think he's the guy of the 3 to be the one to look out for long term.
Hovlin's a great young player, but his last couple of tournaments haven't been real good.
Yep.
And he's been a little bit shaky off the tee. And I think part of the problem for Hoblin is he might be one of those guys that needs to dial it down just a little bit. He's not in DeChambeau territory as far as trying to absolutely annihilate the golf ball, but he doesn't hold back at all. And there are holes where, maybe it's just best to put it on the fairway, a la Wade Simpson. Give away 30 or 40 yards. You'll get it back in the long run. That's maturity. I think Hovlin's a little over-aggressive at times, and that could cost him this week.
I want to talk to European players because you're talking a tournament with wind, with thick rough. cool temperatures, and we saw this with Shane Lowry when he won the, I still call it the British Open. I can't call it the Open Championship. You see some of these guys who are just used to playing in this bad weather. I feel like sometimes over here in the States we kind of discount them, especially in Draftkings. These guys have so much value. So look, Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's finished 3rd and 6th his last 2 tournaments. Lowry got teamed up with his old caddy. You got Tyrrell Hatton, who came off a bad finish last week. Adam Scott is not a Euro, obviously, but he's coming back in 8th and 3rd the last 2 PGA Championships. And Nick's old nemesis, Justin Rose. So,
I think Justin Rose is no longer an elite player.
Wow.
I think he's dropped to that next level where he's still a guy whose name is going to be occasionally on the leaderboard on Sunday, but there are elements of his game that are just not what they were. You still think of him as a 19-year-old tearing things up at the British Open. That's a long time ago. Long time ago.
Defending FedEx Cup champ?
Yeah. Former number 1 player in the world.
I don't disagree, but
his game.
So Nick, any of these European players that we may be overlooking? Fleetwood, he's played 2 tournaments. Louis Oosthuizen, obviously not Euro, but just some of these guys I feel like sometimes we just don't talk about here in the States enough.
Well, I think the best player of all of them, but I'm not really on him this week, is probably Fleetwood. He's not a guy he hasn't been doing much for me yet. Fitzpatrick, I think, is a young guy that we're going to talk about a lot. He's up in that list of the guys, Hoblin and Morika, that are young and going to be near leaderboards for a long time. This week, I liked who you mentioned, Hatton. I liked him last week. He played awful, but that I think only makes him better this week. He was 22-1 last week. He's 55-1 this week in essentially the same field. I mean, it's more players, but it's just as deep, and all the big names are there. So, I mean, that's huge drop in odds for a guy that is very good. His stats, he's 3rd on tour in shots gained overall, 8th in putting, and 11th in approach. He had 4 straight top 10s until last week. And he's plus 500 for a top 10 this week. I mean, I think that's a huge value play on a guy that's really done well. He won the Arnold Palmer right before the break, so he can play, and he played very well in the events until last week since the restart. So of the Euro guys, he's my favorite this week, and a lot of it's because of his number.
Let me throw another guy out there who's not European, but he's from Mexico, and he was a hot pick a few weeks ago, and kind of didn't have a great tournament, but he was one of those big ticket guys that everybody wanted and didn't come through. But he played well last week, quietly. Nobody really noticed him, but he got a solid 15th.
I had a top 20 on it.
And Abraham Answer is a straight shooter.
Yep.
I mean, he's a guy who's going to hit fairways and doesn't try to hit the ball 9 miles. I think he could do well here.
And when Dave says straight shooter, means he hits the ball straight, not like he's honest. I mean, I'm sure he is honest, but he'll just get it straight. We got a question.
All pro golfers are honest. They are. They're innately honest because they could all cheat and they don't. And when they do, they call the penalties on themselves.
Unless you're Patrick Reed. Okay, Nick, Travis on YouTube.
Oh.
Any value picks on golfers to crack the top 5 or top 10? I'll let you think about that. I did want to talk about one guy who I'm just baffled by. He's a guy that doesn't win a whole lot, but he's always near the top, and that's Paul Casey. And he has just been absolute bottom feed. Got a nice bet against him. I'm surely going to be playing against him. Miscut 67. There's 2 weeks in a row where he's been in a bunker on a par 3 and has somehow come out of the bunker into water right around the green.
Oh, he did that again this week?
He took a quadruple.
Yeah, he's done it 2 weeks in a row.
So I don't know what is going on with that guy, but he's absolute stay away, and it's too bad because I had a really cool interaction with him at the U.S. Open last year. He's an awesome guy, but my money's not going anywhere near him. So, Nick.
I'll throw the same name out, and if you took a shot with him for a top 20 last week, you got paid. I mentioned him last week. Why not again? Good golf course for him.
There you
Shea
go.
Reavie.
Looks great.
Why not? He's in really good form. He hits fairways. Listen, if he'd have made a couple of putts last week, he might have won. He was real close there on Sunday. I don't think Ravy can win, so I wouldn't bother on outright. But top 20, I mean, his outright's in the 100-1 neighborhood, so you're going to get paid if he gets in the top 20.
Finishes at PGA Championships 12th and 14th. He's no stranger to playing good.
Just a solid player.
Yeah.
Solid guy.
He's bitten with the he's been bitten with the inconsistency bug, but man, when he's on, he can play with the big boys. So, Nick, you looking at the top 5, top 10, maybe some decent value picks that you like?
Well, I mentioned Hatton top 10 at plus 500, but my extra juicy, I'll call it play of the week that I like is Harris English. He's 100-1 outright. Not going to go there, but plus 335 right now, top 20. And why I'm looking at him is if you just kind of look at his seasons, he had 3 straight top 20s coming into the Memorial. He didn't play last week, okay, so he's coming off a week off. He's 10th on tour in total shots gained, 16th tee to green, 21st putting, 9th scoring average. And he's 101 plus 335 top 20. I mean, the stats are there for getting that kind of a price. So that's why I'm on him this week. I think he's a great value play for a leaderboard bet.
I'll take a shot with somebody who he's a hot and cold player. When he gets rolling, though, he can be on that leaderboard for all 4 rounds. Billy Horschel, who was really struggling coming out of the break, he's starting to play pretty well. He got a top 10 at the first of the Nicklaus golf course events. He was 13th the week after that and had a very respectable finish this past weekend in Memphis. Horschel's a guy who you go with when he's playing well. So I would find some way to get Billy Horschel into your mix this week. You want to take a shot at a big upset at a huge price, matchups, or just maybe a top 10 or 20. I think you get a good chance to cash with Billy Horschel.
I'll give you the ultimate dart throw. If you believe in a hot putter and you believe a guy who somehow shot 9 under on Saturday can continue hitting 200 feet of putts in rounds, I will point you to Tom Lewis, who put on possibly the putting display of the week and of the year. Look, guys.
And then blew up. One of all things, blew a putt when he most needed to make one. He had like a 6-footer for a birdie that he had to have, and he missed it. And that was the end of Tom Lewis, but he played very well.
I couldn't believe it when I saw like -9 on Saturday. I was like, who? Who shot -9? Guy was +3 coming in and ended up -6 in the tournament.
You know what's funny is I do follow a lot of golf guys on Twitter, and the European contingent that I follow was really pissed off. They were really pissed off because Lewis wasn't getting any coverage at all.
He wasn't.
I mean, coverage at all. And they were just blowing a gasket, a collective gasket on Twitter. It's like they hate us. They hate all our, they made it into a political thing where it was Americans. They don't want to follow us. They were always rooting against us.
Well, clearly they haven't seen Americans trying to cover golf. I mean, the golf coverage is such a joke. What day did they stay? They had to tee up early, I think, on Friday. And instead of moving up the TV coverage, they just went live at 1:30. It was like, the last group's on 16. Everyone's in the clubhouse. Like, and what was funny was they actually announced it on Thursday. I was watching on TV, and they're like, hey, bad weather, so they're moving up the tee times, but our coverage is still going to go live at 1:30 for pregame, and then we'll go live at 2. It's like, what are you talking about? Everyone's in the clubhouse. What are you
That's what they did. That's what they did in the event Morikawa won.
Oh yeah,
I watched Morikawa win on my phone on the CBS Sports app.
Yes.
And meanwhile, CBS Sports Network itself, are carrying tape of some bull riding event.
Yep.
What the hell's wrong?
Yep.
I mean, don't tell me the technology's there. If you can show it on the stream, put it on TV. Not that I'm not knocking bull riding fans, but it was a taped event on a Sunday morning. Who gives a shit? Okay, put the live golf on. And there's people on Twitter. I can't find it. Where is it? I'm going. It's on the app. It's on the app. What is? I'm talking about
you
dumb.
can't watch it in your living room on your TV, but if you're driving down the interstate with a phone, you can watch it. That's great. I've always said, don't knock bull riding. I think bull riding is missing out on something. They should have a fantasy bull riding league where you draft the bulls. and I would pay money to be a part of that league.
Those guys are crazy, by the way.
They are.
I mean, that's you're not making a lot of money if you're a bull rider. Travel is you live out of your car, and I just they must love it, not me. Pass on that.
We had a question earlier from Courtney about DraftKings. I did good in DraftKings last week, cashed a couple of tickets. Last week, Nick, you and I talked about how when it's a no cut, you can go stars and scrubs, and that's what I did. And you know, if you get Justin Thomas and then a couple of low guys, you're going to do good. Major, I don't think in my lineups I have one guy that's priced over 10,000. Nick, have you put any lineups in?
Not yet, but I'm in the same boat. I mean, majors you got to kind of look at. For me, you got to look at that mid-tier guy that's in this type of field will be priced better than normal, you know, against a weak field, but they're going to be in that I don't know, 8,000 kind of range, 7,000 range. But they're the guys that are. There's too many really expensive players that all could have a good week, so it's hard to choose one, and then I'll end up picking the wrong one.
But I can't play daily fantasy sports out here. I live in the former sports betting capital of the world. It's the former sports betting capital of the world. Let's call it straight. I mean, I love it here, but New Jersey's blowing us away in terms of menu stuff, and we can't play daily fantasy sports out here. So I don't really pay that much attention to it. For golf, are you saying that to avoid all the real expensive guys, if you can't settle on one and just take mid-ranges? I would look at it, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm legitimately asking this question. My look would be, okay, I'm going to find one of the favorites and play him, and then go mid-priced in a long shot to complete my roster. What do you think about that strategy?
It's tricky because you have 6 guys, and when you have a no-cut tournament, you know you're going to get 4 rounds from all of your guys. The key to DraftKings is get 6 guys to the weekend. And if you spend too much money on, like, Justin Thomas, who's like 11,300, you're going to end up with a scrub. And the way it works, Dave, in DraftKings is normally what happens is your scrubs make the cut and your most expensive guy misses it. At least that's it. But here, I did a lineup, Nick. I'll run this by you. So this is just an example of a lineup with nobody over 10,000. So I have Henrik Stenson at 7,300. I picked him because he hits the fairway, doesn't make huge mistakes. Sung J.M. at 7,600. I thought he looked good. He took a break, took a week off, and seems to be rested. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 8,100. We talked about him. He's hot. Jason Day is 8,400. Of course, I had to put Daniel Berger at 8,800, which is just completely underpriced. And then my most expensive guy is Webb Simpson at 9,700. This is, what is this, 8 out of 10 tournaments? He's finished top 12, or 9 of 11, something crazy. So,
seems to be a pattern with your picks of guys who you really focused on guys who hit fairways.
After seeing the pictures of the rough, yes, I will be all over that. So that's just an example of a DraftKings lineup I'll be rolling out. So, and yes, Richard Casey, a friend of mine who's watching us, he's over in Europe, and he is getting in the sports books. They're just begging for your business, and he's getting 11 each way places this week, which is just absolutely insane. I can't believe it. I'm going to wire him money. All right, guys, we have about 5 minutes left. Real quick, Nick, pump what you're working on besides golf.
Soccer. We got the Champions in the Europa League starting this week, picking back up. So a couple weeks of that, and then the European leagues kick back off. And there's the last 2 games of or last 3 games, semifinals and finals of the MLS's back tournament are this week as well. So for me, it's soccer right now. Besides golf, and I have 5% up right now for play going tomorrow in the Europa League.
You're crushing it at baseball. I'm sure that's taking up most of your time. Yes.
No, because I spend a lot of time on the NHL as well, and off to a decent start in the playoffs. And as of the moment, I am happy with the Nashville Predators score. They lead 3-0 in the third period. I have the Preds, so so best bets are up in baseball and hockey, and also, of course, my outright package in golf. And when football starts, I'll get involved with that. Obviously, I do not do the NBA. For anybody who's curious, I'm atrocious at it. No, I just am. I have no feel for the game whatsoever. I don't have a great understanding of the NBA, to be honest. And so I'm not going to sell stuff I don't bet on myself, and I ain't betting the NBA.
I'm the same way. There's sports I just can't figure out, so I'm not going to get involved in it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of give you an example real quick. I love UFC from a fan's perspective, but I have no knowledge of the technical stuff, which I think is required to be a successful MMA bettor. You really have to understand the sport. So I just watch as a fan, and I don't give out picks on that. I think that's one of the cool things at Wager Talk, if I can plug the company for a moment, is that not everybody does every sport.
Yep.
You do the sports you can win money for your clients in, and that's a real good thing about Wager Talk.
I agree. I will pump NASCAR. Me and my buddy Rocky, we went a combined 8-0 last week in NASCAR picks. And what was crazy was without talking, we did not overlap one play, which is crazy. We're both hovering around 70% in NASCAR. I'm actually bummed we don't have more sales than that because we're just printing money for people. And then we debuted our first ever live UFC show. So we went live on Saturday night for the UFC event, and I expected to get a few people, and we had about 800 people watching us live. And we are going to do this every UFC event. This is for in-round betting, live betting, and it's very laid back. We talk life, we talk sports, and then once the fight starts, we talk about that. It's a lot of fun.
But listen, one thing though, Andy, the idea that you had to also be a ring girl for the event, no, don't do that, okay?
I will not wear my bikini again this week. Not making that mistake again. So, we had a crazy.
At least go with a onesie if you're going to do it. All right.
It was a crazy UFC card. One guy who we had a huge bet on tested positive for COVID right before, so that fight went out.
Oops.
And then another fight that we had a big bet on, the opponent passed out on the way to the ring. Yes.
Oh, I saw that.
And it was like, of course we were going to win that bet. The guy barely made it.
How could they? I couldn't believe. Not for nothing. This shows you my lack of understanding. But wouldn't that fight be canceled at that point? I mean, how do you? He went in and fought.
No, they canceled that fight. That was Giles. Yeah.
Oh, they did cancel. Okay.
So we had no action on these two bets, and it was like.
How does that get graded? That is a no bet.
Refunded.
I didn't know if it was a forfeit. I didn't know if they would call it a forfeit or not.
Yeah.
Because they could.
Yeah, but they didn't enter the ring. So, but it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of live bets. We still don't have a name for it. Richard says, Andy, I am English, not European. Whoops, sorry about that. On YouTube. Do you guys have any free picks that you guys want to give out now, or are you guys still crunching numbers?
As far as the golf goes, I didn't put this in my packet. Excuse me, in my package, but I would go with each way bets and matchups on Billy Horschel. I think he's going to have a good tournament, and you'll get rewarded if Horschel does play.
Nick, you got anything for us?
I have. I'll have them up tonight. I have a free pick up for soccer, but I won't plug that here. But the one I'm kind of leaning at and looking at, perhaps, is Fowler to miss the cut.
Pretty risky.
I said it. Yep. I said I'm not. It's not official, but I'm looking at it. I might put it up later.
I'll give out a free pick. We cashed on this pick last week, and because I'm an idiot, I forgot to put it up on the free picks. But I'm going to give it out now to make sure I don't. So, you watch too much golf when you know some of these stats. So what I did was I noticed that Erik van Rooyen is terrible in the first round. So I started to look it up. In 8 of his 10 tournaments in 2020, his first round was the worst round of the tournament for him. And in those 10 tournaments, only one of those rounds was below 70. So he starts out slow and he picks it up as the tournament goes on. And when you know it, he did the same damn thing last week. Shot a horrible...
He ended up top 20.
He shot a 76 in the first round. So last week, I noticed Louis Oosthuizen starts off fast and fades. So we took Louis round 1 against Van Rooyen, and then we saw Van Rooyen who was picking it up, and then we bet on him in round 4, and he had a great round 4, and we cashed it. So this week, I get Brendan Steele, who also likes starting off good. Since the restart, he's played in 4 PGA Tour events. In 3 of those, his first round was the best round of the tourney for him. So my free play is Brendan Steele over Eric Van Rooyen in the first round, and the average Steele is shooting 5.3 strokes better than Van Rooyen in the first round of tournaments they've played together since restart. How about that?
Nice stat.
That is a good stat. I like that.
It's really bizarre. And
what's the head matchup price?
Plus 105. Plus money.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's first round. So, and yes, I felt like a nerd just talking about that one because the fact that I know Eric Van Rooyen's first round stats. I bet Van Rooyen doesn't even know his first round stats.
Are we? Wait, I have to say something before. I know we're running out of time. We're going to end, but are we going to go a golf show without talking about the guy, the guy that's good at golf, that guy that has won a lot of stuff?
Go ahead. The floor is yours, Nick.
I don't know. I just was asking if we were going to talk about him. Are you going to talk about him?
Tiger
Woods?
Earlier.
Oh, we had.
We did mention it, but go ahead. What do you expect? I don't
know.
expect to see him playing on Saturday, and you can get him at plus money to miss the cut. So, Nick, what do you expect from him? I know he's already there. He played 9 holes yesterday.
Yeah, he's a guy to not put your money. Listen. The way I would bet him this way. He's plus money in all 5 head-to-head matchups. If you can find a way or a guy to angle against between Cantley, Xander, Morikawa, Hideki, or Webb, that would be the only way to play him. Could he beat any of those 5 guys? Because he's not going to be a leaderboard bet. He's not an outright winner. He's not none of that. But could he beat any of those guys? I think you can make an argument somewhere, but that's the way I'm going to look to take him if I do. But yeah. I hope he does well. I hope he wins. But
well, I don't hope he wins because I'm not betting on him, but I hope he wins.
I don't care. I hope he wins.
Lose in a playoff, okay?
Every golf show in the world talks about Tiger, so I feel like sometimes it's cliche. So, but yes, that's our.
Yep. Yes. A whole lot more people watch when Tiger's in the mix.
Yeah, that is true. So, all right, guys, good stuff. Get Nick's soccer picks, golf picks of wagertalk.com. Get Dave's baseball and NHL picks. Join me this Saturday on the live UFC show, and then I'll be live tomorrow with Rocky and Steve Merrill. We're doing NASCAR. Tons of winners all over the place. Real quick, $2 Tuesday with Rob Vino, and arguably the best promo for Wager Talk. 1 week all access for $69. That's you get all the picks. Normal price is $119. By the way, $119 is cheap for the value in that. The code is week69 WEEK. 6-9. Guys, it's the first major. We're on the home stretch of golf season. Hopefully the major brings major profits. Good luck, everybody. And Nick and Dave, I'll talk to you guys next week, all right?